Hi, I'm Cailey, a librarian here at Mentor Public Library.
And I'm Meg, also a librarian, and welcome to this week's edition of All Booked Up with Cailey and Meg, where each time we give you different book recommendations on a specific theme. Today, we're going to be looking at teen weekend binge books. So as we're getting closer to the summer and maybe some people are getting out of school or just have more free time on their hands, why not take a spare weekend and catch up with one of these books? So the books we're going to be talking about today are either on the shorter side, so you can read them in a weekend, or they're so captivating that you won't be able to put them down until the weekend's over.
I'm sure some of them will be those ones where you are staying up late to finish them,
Yes.
and then you have regrets the next day.
Right.
And all of the books that we're talking about today are available for you through Mentor Public Library, whether in person or online with Hoopla and Libby. All right, Meg, hit me with your first binge book.
My first binge book is called Chloe and the Kaishao Boys by Coyiuto. And this is a hilarious, I call it a romantic comedy about a Chinese Filipino girl in Manila whose father sets her up on a marathon of arranged dates in hopes of convincing her to stay close to home for college. So Chloe knows what she wants to do. She is passionate about animation. Her dream job would be to leave. She lives in the Philippines, but her dream is to go to California and work for Pixar.
Oh,
doesn't sound like a bad dream. Yeah, right? It doesn't sound like a bad dream at all. So she's totally geared up for this. In fact, she has just learned she had been on the waiting list to attend USC, and she just realized she got off the waiting list. So everything is breaking fantastic for her. However, family sort of gets in the way. So her father, who she loves, she's very close with her father, but they don't really talk to each other much. So there's a little bit of a communication barrier, and he really doesn't want her to leave the Philippines. So what he does is he starts encouraging her to go what is called Kaishao, which means arranged date. So he starts ushering in all these young men into her life, and some of them are awkward, some are funny. Maybe or maybe not one of them she actually starts to develop feelings for, which kind of also complicates things as she's, debating her future. And then also her auntie wants to arrange this huge ball for her because she's turning 18. So she's kind of stressed out this whole summer. But at the heart of this charming little story is really about a girl and communicating with the people she loves about what she really wants in life. So whether that's with her father, maybe the young guy she meets and wants to, interact with more. But at the heart of it is like, does she want to follow her heart, which is obviously with following her dreams and her passions, or, and then still loving her family. So a very relatable dilemma. And also maybe, some of our readers may be at a similar point in life. Maybe they're, making big choices for their future. So that's a fun, quick read, but also kind of has a little bit of weight to it as well.
Well, it sounds interesting too, because I like the fact that it's like an international read.
Yeah.
So it sort of exposes you to a bit of a different culture and, the way that some things are very different, but some things are kind of the same.
Yeah.
No matter where you go, like
Exactly.
pressure, school pressure, those things are
right
everywhere. But that one sounds like a lot of fun. I should try that one out. My first book is also sort of rom-com, and this one is called My Mechanical Romance by Alexene Farol Follmuth. And let me just preface this by saying robots, romance, humor. Do I have your attention?
Yes.
So this is about Belle, who is not very interested in thinking about the future.
Okay.
Our heroine, she's just kind of terrified about what comes next. College is scary. She doesn't really know what she's good at, what she should pursue. And it's hard for her to think about. And it seems like everyone around her is really focused on it. And one day a teacher sort of sees a spark in Belle. She has a knack for engineering. And before Belle knows it, she's sort of been ushered into the robotics team, which is not ideal for her, but she is interested in it. She is one of only 2 girls on the team. And the other girl, Neelam, doesn't really seem to like her. and all the boys kind of ignore her and don't
Oh.
appreciate her presence there. Teo, who's the head of the robotics team, starts to see some talent in Belle, and he begrudgingly accepts her until an incident really changes their path, and then they're sort of like butting heads. But she continues to try because she doesn't really know what else to do, and she is interested in it. And as they work on the championship robot together, Teo and Belle sort of begin to get along and kind of see each other's strengths and, maybe something more. So this one was easily a one-sitting read because it's just kind of fun and has a lot of reference to like physics and engineering, which is not my forte, but the author makes it very accessible. It's highlighting a little bit of that sort of female in a male-dominated field thing that, a lot of girls may encounter if they're interested in the STEM fields, especially. And it is a lot about the developing relationships, the changing time in high school, planning for college, but it's also a lot about like finding out who you are and like embracing the things that you're good at and that you love and kind of figuring that out at this stage, which is fun. And I think it's interesting to see a STEM romance novel. So it's real cute.
I love it. That's all adorable. Yeah. And I love how, like you said, like mine at the beginning, she was very sure of what she wanted. And then your book, undecided, which is both totally happens all the time. Like, and in both instances, you have to kind of find out what you really want and who you are. So delightful. And robots. Love it. So my next bingeable book is The Jump by Brittney Morris. And this reminds me a lot of like Marvel superhero stories and things, only there's no superpowers. So it's about a group of 4 teenagers in Seattle who join a dangerous scavenger hunt with a prize that can save their families and communities. So we got, I'll go through the 4 members of this group, which is called Team Jericho. First, there's Jax, who is the leader and the expert with logic and puzzles. Then there's Yaz, who is has excellent agility and knows parkour, which I think would be so cool. I'm like, I wish I knew how to do that. And then Han, who is expert at geography of Seattle or a cartographer. And then finally, there's Spider, who is expert at computers. And they do all these sort of little missions around the town, but then all of a sudden something ominous happens. There is a oil group that is threatening to kind of overrun their whole part of the town, and it kind of threatens like the jobs of all their families and friends, and they kind of are nervous about this. So what happens is there's this group called the Order, which is a mysterious vigilante organization who confronts Team Jericho and offers them like this prize to help them overthrow this oil refinery that's going to overthrow their town if they'll go along with them. So it's very mysterious, but there's lots of like puzzles throughout the book, and Team Jericho has to try and figure them out together using their skills. But what's interesting about it is as you go along, especially Yaz, the parkour specialist, she starts to have misgivings about this group, the Order, and what really are their aims in contacting Team Jericho. But yeah, overall, this is a fun one. It kind of, did you ever see Spider-Verse? The animated Spider-Man movie?
I'm sorry, I need to.
You need to, because the next one's coming out. But any superhero group of like a group of individuals who you have to use their wits, and there's like a lot of humor. But I like this because it's not superpowers. They have to use their mind power, Cailey. But it's fun. And I just love the puzzle aspect too. So if anyone likes like a mystery or just like they have to figure something out, there's lots of like clues in the book throughout as well. So it's just a fun, lighthearted, very quick read, I would say.
That one sounds good. I love the idea of like a sort of scavenger hunt type thing through the city too.
Yeah, right.
So I could see curling up with that one.
Yeah.
The next one I have is something completely different that we really haven't talked about.
Okay.
It's a horror novel. which is a completely different reason to binge a book. This one is called Stranger Danger by Maren Stoffels. And this, I think, is a Dutch import, which is interesting, but translates very well easily too. And it's a shorter book, so it's also, I think it's only like 200 pages or so. So it's a quick read just for that. But on top of that, keeps the suspense going. So this is about Nova, Vin, and Lotus, who are 3 teens who've rented this farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. They have no phones and no internet.
Smart.
Why, you may ask? To study, of course. They have decided that, if they eliminate all distractions, that means all focus on their studies before their exams. So it's not a terrible idea. In practice, maybe a different location would have because soon one of them notices that they're being watched. And there is definitely someone out there and someone watching. And you find out that Lotus, one of the teens, has smuggled in a phone and has started to get strange, threatening messages on the phone. And all 3 of these teens are very close, but they're all sort of keeping things from one another and are worried about what this outsider seems to know about them. Nova and Vin are like best friends, but they are also keeping things from one another. And you find out that maybe they're not the most innocent of people too. There's flashbacks to school that sort of reveal that all the characters are flawed, and it alternates between the different teens' perspectives, and you kind of slowly realize all of the secrets and what kind of trouble they're in. And it kind of also gives you an opportunity to sort of guess who it is that's stalking them. But this is all while someone on the outside is trying to get in. So this book has that like whole seclusionist thing going where you're isolated and you can't really get out because of that. So it gives you those like horror movie vibes. And it's like a high tension book where there's like all these different things being revealed, and it definitely has some twists, and it's going to trick you a few times, but it's a super quick read. So definitely bingeable. I would recommend, though, not when you're home alone at night.
Right. So be like cozy at home alone, like maybe during the day. And
on a sunny afternoon.
Yes, right. Yeah, that sounds great though. I could totally see how you would want to binge that over a weekend because you just have to know the conclusion, and all the secrets. I want to know the secrets. That's great. I love it. And also plug, if you want to study, kids, come to the library. We have study rooms. You don't have to go to a abandoned field to study.
Don't go out in the middle of nowhere with no way to contact someone.
Right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for this week's edition of All Booked Up with Cailey and Meg. We hope you take maybe your next weekend that you have some free time and binge one of these books.
Check them out, and we'll see you next time. Happy reading.